Ryan.
Hello.
Happy 420.
Happy 420.
This is our Christmas. This is our holiday season.
Can you tell we're celebrating?
Yeah,
Oh,
just
yeah.
a little bit. Just
Like,
a little bit.
It's Black Friday for the workers and
Yeah.
and even the shoppers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My name is Jen. I am the Public Information Director at DCR.
I'm Ryan. I'm the licensing director at DCR.
And we are hosting On the Record, DCR's podcast. And you'll notice that today we are not at DCR. We're at the Originals Factory located at 6500 Stanford Avenue in LA. Thank you so much to Brandon, Mike, Robert, and Willie for allowing us to use your amazing, beautiful space.
Thank you.
We love being here. And today, what are we talking about today? What are we discussing, guys?
Episode 2 going to be a little bit different than episode 1. We're focusing on the Cannabis Curious.
Canna
folks,
Curious.
The
The
Canna
Canna
Curious,
Curious.
if you will. Thank you very much. And also learning about why it's so important to shop at a licensed store.
Licensed dispensary.
And hey, we talked about ourselves, but we have someone else here that
Oh.
I would love to do a quick introduction on before we get into things. We have Maha Haq today. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. She's been involved in the legal cannabis industry here in Los Angeles since 2012. She's been involved in the entire supply chain for cannabis, from the dispensaries, delivery side, grows, and also testing. She sits on multiple boards here in Los Angeles, one for NORML and one for the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce. She has her master's degree from the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy. And most recently became a cannabis staff writer at Vice. So
Yes.
welcome, Maha. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for making time for us.
Thank you for having me. I can't think of spending 420 with anyone else, man. This is awesome.
You're doing a million different things. Please talk to us a little bit about how you got started in the
Yeah.
cannabis industry.
Okay, so I was always interested in the medical side of cannabis, its medicinal applications, and I explored it at an age I shouldn't have. But my mom caught me. My mom caught me in the midst of the exploration, and instead of punishing me, she asked me to rationalize why I was doing what I was doing. She's a scientist. She works at a cancer hospital. And she asked me to present a report on why cannabis is applicable in medicine or whatever. And
amazing.
she's a clinical researcher. She wanted me to cite sources and show research. And it's a myth that there's not enough research. There's a lot of research on cannabis out there. And this was a while ago, and there still was research available. And I cited sources. I presented whatever I could. And she was very impressed. And she invited me to volunteer at the hospital and present to patients and a physician or two that were interested in medical cannabis. As a volunteer, I helped the patients out. And as soon as I was able to work at a dispensary, I did, and never looked back. Now I'm here. that was my first weed job, and just kept at it and wanted to explore the entire supply chain to get a well-rounded understanding of what this industry is and is becoming. So that's the genesis.
Yeah, that's an amazing introduction to cannabis.
Yeah.
Wow.
Usually it's like through like, you're in the behind a shed or something.
Exactly. That's what culture tells you that the cannabis introduction is. But you
Yeah.
come from a very different perspective. That's amazing.
Yeah, I try to self-medicate, and I was caught. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of young people are in similar situations, but I think I wanted to make lemonade out of that lemon. So and it worked out.
And you
So
definitely did. I mean, look at where you're at now.
I'm very thankful for the
Yeah.
support from my mom. If she had grounded me instead,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, kind of continuing on that, and fine, I guess I'll take my glasses off. If you could kind of continue to expand on, your passion for cannabis and kind of why the cannabis culture and 420 is so important to you.
So obviously with my mom looming over me, trying to watch every step I made in this industry, I tried to one up whatever I was doing with the volunteering, working at my local shop, and started a cannabis student organization at my alma mater, UCLA, called Canna Club. We are at 60 universities now.
Go Bruins.
Yes, go Bruins. We're at a lot of schools. There's a better alternative to these more harmful substances that run rampant in colleges.
Yeah.
And I saw at my own school that there's a wine club for students. There's brewing Bruins there's a beer club.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you know what? Let's make a Canna Club.
Yeah.
Like, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So that was my first attempt at developing cannabis culture in the college space, and wanting to, I guess, help Gen Z form its own culture, because
Yes.
we are basing so much of the cannabis culture, as we should, to the old OG heads that we give a lot of credit to, as we should. But there's new culture being formed.
Yeah.
And we have
Exactly.
a lot more we have a lot more products. We have different access now than we did before. So
Cannabis has changed.
yes,
You
a
know,
lot.
it has changed, and we have to continue to push that. And like you said, educate people.
Yeah.
Continuing on the theme of the podcast today with like Canna Curious, wanted to talk about
Let's get into
some folks
products.
that maybe curious adults that maybe new to the market, or maybe it's been a while since they've been involved. And so I'd like to kind of get into some of the products that we have available today and what you can tell us about those.
Of course. So for the Canna Curious, I'm not gonna make them take a big bong rip or take a big globby dab, but I would recommend a low dose edible, or if they want to be even more cautious, a small dropper from a tincture. But mantra to follow is start low and go slow. So you want to start with the lowest dose, especially if you're new at this. You don't want to take 100 milligrams, which is the maximum licensed products can be packaged with. So anything above 100, give it an eyebrow raise.
And be, cautious with, unlicensed products.
Yeah, try to avoid those, especially if you are Canna Curious.
Correct.
But I always recommend a microdose. And what is a microdose? 1 milligram to 2.5 milligrams is what would be considered a microdose. Low dose range would be 3 to 5. And this is talking about the Canna Curious, not someone like me. If 5 milligrams is not going to do anything for me, but 5 milligrams may take someone to the moon. So a microdose, and a microdose is typically 1 to 2.5 milligrams. And most microdose products that you'll see on dispensary shelves have 2.5 milligram incremented products. So I would approach those, ask about them, and there's several formats. There's gummies, there's mints, there's chocolates, there's all kinds of edibles, and then there's also beverages. So if you don't want to eat, you can always drink, and if you don't want to eat or drink, you can make it a little more medicinal approach with a tincture. And we got all of them here. So yeah, we got all of those here. But if you do want to smoke flower, if you Canna Curious and you really want to try flower, you want to burn something, you want to smell weed, you want a traditional experience, have a small dog walker joint. Don't finish it.
What is a dog walker joint? Because this is my first time hearing this term,
Same.
actually.
So it's a mini joint. So most joints, they'll come with a gram of flour packed into it, but a mini joint may have only half a gram, and they're visually smaller. So
The pre-rolls, right? The tiny
pre-rolls,
pre-rolls.
yes.
Okay,
They're
I've seen those,
tinier pre-rolls, and mini pre-rolls is what they're often advertised as. So if you really want to smoke flower and you're really curious about it, but you don't have a tolerance or you're worried about it, I always recommend a mini pre-roll. And several brands offer that. I believe even Originals has those, but I do think they're a little strong because they might be infused. So that's another thing to avoid. Don't get infused flower products if you are Canna Curious. But if you're a consumer like me, go crazy.
All right.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. I have questions
Yes.
about specific products
yeah.
because you go to the dispensary and this is to say cannabis has really changed since, the days of our grandparents.
Oh, yeah. It's much stronger.
It is much stronger. And
Yeah.
you go into a dispensary and you see like things like CBG, CBD, CBN. And you go in and I can imagine it can be difficult for somebody who is kind of curious, who is just
Yeah.
trying to get into it and intimidating, and it can
Yes.
push people away. So I want you to explain,
Sure.
in like the simplest
Yes.
form possible, please.
Explain like I'm 5, but
Yes,
please don't be a
explain to me
5-year-old. 21 plus only.
Explain to me like I'm 21.
Yes. Yes. So what? Okay. So what are all these things you're saying? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. These are all
So many acronyms.
These are all cannabinoids. And THC is a cannabinoid that gets you high. CBD is a cannabinoid that helps with anti-inflammatory and calming effects. Then you mentioned CBN and CBG.
Yes.
So CBN has been gaining a lot of popularity, especially in advertising and promoting such brands. Like this gummy brand advertises CBN, CBD, and a THC 1:1:1 blend. And what does that
What
mean?
does that ratio mean? Do I have to do math now?
Yeah, a little bit. So it's even parts of THC and CBD, which we would know about, and then CBN. What's the CBN? It's kind of a new buzzword, but it's always existed. CBN is a minor cannabinoid, but it is when THC oxidizes, or rather gets old. So when THC is exposed to air, or if it's degrading, turns into CBN. So when you notice, if you have flour, you have a flour jar, like this Originals one, and this is fresh. I can see the expiration date on here, and it's not for a while, and that's how it should be. But if your flour is expired, I wouldn't recommend smoking it. But it is high in CBN because it's gotten old. That THC has converted to CBN. So what does CBN do? CBN helps with sleep.
Okay.
It sedates you. You're seeing it a lot in gummies, in tinctures. They take fresh flower and then they accelerate the oxidation, and that's how you
is
get
so
CBN.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Oh, and then we forgot CBG.
CBD.
CBG is the mother molecule. It's the mother of all.
Explain to what that
The
means,
mother
please.
molecule. It's the mother. So
The mother.
so with CBG, it synthesizes into THC. It turns into it. So it is a precursor to
That
the
is so
main
interesting.
cannabinoids that we are familiar with.
So if that comes before THC, what kind of effects would you say that a CBG molecule
Yes.
has?
So CBG also gaining popularity in products. It's doesn't get you high. It's not psychoactive. It helps with focus, clarity. It's meant for daytime use, which is opposite of
Interesting.
CBN,
Yeah.
meant for
Yeah.
nighttime use. So yeah, it's interesting that each of these cannabinoids, the components of cannabis, has its own function. But if we are consuming whole plant or even whole concentrate, as opposed to these isolated cannabinoids in gummies and beverages, you get a more whole effect with flour and concentrates.
And I want to ask you about concentrates
Yes.
as well, which we have one here. There are two, and these are some of our most potent
Yeah.
types of products,
Yes.
right? Would you recommend something like this for somebody who is kind of curious, somebody who's just starting? When can I dabble in this?
I love dabbing. I'm a big dabber, but that's because I'm a connoisseur. So the canna curious should steer clear of this for now.
So what is it if, somebody who's kind of curious can or should not, partake in this?
So it's much stronger, and just like with flour, it hits you immediately. So the inhalation method,
Interesting.
it hits you immediately. With edibles, it takes time for it to hit, and it can hit strongly, but you can always start low and you can build up slowly if it doesn't affect you. With flour and dabs, you're kind of at a point of no return. You
yeah.
can never do less.
You can't
And-
cancel that trip.
Exactly. And it is hard to portion out. There are ways, especially with dabs, you can do a little tiny amount. And that could suffice for someone who is intimidated or is worried about their low tolerance. You can take a very tiny dab, but I still wouldn't recommend it. I would tell them to go the safer routes like edibles and beverages. It's just easier to understand how your body reacts. Once you have your experience and you understand your baseline, then you can like try dabbing and smoking. But I would do it like this. Start with edibles, beverages, graduate onto a vape, maybe
Okay.
a small vape puff, or even a mini pre-roll like we mentioned earlier. And then maybe you can try a baby dab. I would say that would be the course of action.
I think we wanted to talk about here over as well. I have some beverages, so tell
Ooh.
us a little bit about that. And are we taking sips? Are we down in the whole thing? What are we
Okay.
doing for the Canna Curious?
This is 100.
Oh, okay. That's 100
milligrams.
milligrams.
Whoa.
So no, maybe no. So if you got a 100 milligram beverage, then just take one sip and you're done. If you're kind of curious, this is your first couple times trying cannabis, you're not going to finish that can. However, there are many cans on the market that are low dose, that are microdose even. There are beverages that are 2.5 milligrams for the entire thing. And you can swing that back. That's only 2.5 milligrams. There's even some that are 5 milligrams. If a microdose isn't enough for you, you want to step into low dose territory, you can swing back a 5 milligram can. But a 100 milligram can like that, no, please steer clear.
So what do you do with this 100 milligram if I buy one of these?
So you can portion that out.
Okay, so these are meant to be portioned out specifically, right? Because 100 milligrams.
Some people will down that. Some people
Would you down that?
I probably wouldn't, but I would have maybe a half of it, and I'll still be like, wow, this is a lot. So maybe a third. A third would put me at a comfortable point with that can. I would, even though it's one can, I would share that. So sharing is caring. 100 milligrams is a lot. Even someone who is an experienced consumer or a connoisseur is what I like to call them, I would still be weary of throwing back 100 milligrams. Also, every body is different. Everybody is different. Our bodies metabolize differently. They react differently. None of us are the same. So 100 milligrams can be nothing for someone, while it can be like the world is ending for someone. So be careful and be mindful.
Well, thank you for all that info about the beverages. We also have some, going back to the dabs just for a second. Some of the packaging on there talks about live rosin. Can you help explain that and
Yes.
tell us a little bit about that?
All right. So dabs are my favorite thing. I gotta.
Oh, the glasses are coming off.
Gotta take the glasses off. So yes, you will see a lot of small cute boxes like this at a dispensary, and especially if you're kind of curious, you're gonna have a lot of questions with what's all this information. This one says live rosin, this one says live batter. There's all kinds of terminology associated with concentrates. It's a very complex category and very niche too. The Canna Curious is obviously going to be interested, but it is meant for built and meant for connoisseurs who are obsessed with this consumption format, like myself. So rosin versus resin / batter. Rosin is solventless, meaning that it is a concentrate that is achieved through natural mechanical means. So when you're doing extraction processes, rosin is the most natural form. There's no solvents being used, and it's oftentimes more expensive. It's a
For
pricey
like a
SKU.
smaller quantity.
Yes,
right?
exactly. So you're gonna see very high prices associated with rosin. And then we have resin or batter, shatter, all kinds of things. There's so many names that are given to the second kind of concentrate. And those are solvent based and often achieved through processing with BHO. So butane is used in processing resin or batter. So it's not as natural, but it is you can consume it, and it is pretty good. They're both rosin and
Maha
resin are
approved.
great. Yeah. I still enjoy both. And most vapes, they are not as viscous and liquidy because they are processed in a similar manner as resin and batter. You have to use some solvents to make it vapable, and that's what I would consider resin and batter products that are in their own jars, is they're very similar to the oil in vapes. But rosin is like that very fancy, schmancy, old vintage bottle of wine that you keep in the back. But they also
That
have...
is a great way to describe it.
Yeah. And then you also mentioned live. What does live mean?
Please tell me what live means. I've
man.
seen it on so many packaging,
live
not
mean?
just for the concentrates, but also for gummies
And vapes.
and vapes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So fresh plant frozen after harvest is live. Some products they don't freeze it right after harvest. They let it dry out a little bit, and then you can process with it. But this specifically...
Sorry, but they freeze it for the specific purpose of
being called live.
being called live.
Yes.
Okay.
So whenever you see live, there's an extra oomph to that product. There's an extra process.
And
et
that
cetera.
means that it is a little more potent than your
It can be.
normal flour or whatever.
Yeah, it can be. It can be. So when you think of getting groceries, you get a basket of strawberries. You put it in a freezer. It's gonna maintain its freshness versus just letting it stay in the fridge for a week. So yeah, it'll be frozen, but they're hard. They're ready to be whatever you want to do with them. Put them in a blender. It makes it easier to even process with them and make some formulations with them too. Yeah. So it makes production easier, I think, too. But it is an extra process.
Okay, I want to switch a little into flour because it is, to this day, one of the most popular forms of consumption. And there's just so much out there. You walk into a dispensary and you just see like full display cases of little nugs. And it is what people think of when you think of cannabis consumption. You know, it's like what people used to smoke. And you have indica, sativa, hybrid. And then on top of that, for each,
There's so many
nomenclature,
names.
you have...
What's in a name?
Exactly. And you have like thousands of different strains.
Oh, yeah.
This is a Skywalker. There's a Hawaiian Sunrise.
This is Bubba. Like,
So
this is called Oaksterdam. And these strains and
what does it mean, and how can I sift through what is right for me?
I love that she said sift. Pun intended. Oh gosh. So with flower, this flower is the basis of cannabis. That is what weed is.
Yes,
Weed is a
yes.
plant. It's the buds, it's the nugs that we see in display cases that has been existing for eons at this point.
yeah.
So of course it's the most popular form of consumption. And like you said, there's so many names: indica, sativa, hybrid, categorization. There's a lot of conversations, discussions, and disagreements about categorizing and boxing all these strains and cultivars into those three names. But I think there's some legitimacy behind it. So indica, known for sleepy effects, nighttime use. Sativa, known for energy, daytime use. And hybrid is a mix of both. So many of these flower products we're seeing today, they are a mix of all these genetics. But yes, they do lean towards either indica or sativa, and do lean with higher content of either myrcene or terpenoline or any other terpenes out there. And what are these terpenes? See, we already talked about A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now we're talking about, what's all these enes.
What's a terpene?
These are all chemical compounds and constituents of the plant. It's kind of like flavonoids in a way, too. They're cousins to flavonoids, things that bring flavor. They're all chemicals. They're all molecules.
Yeah.
And but they do heavily influence the experience of the product. So if you're shopping for flower, ask which one's your sativa, indica, and hybrid. Which one's going to help me sleep? Which one's going to help me stay focused or energized? Which one's for daytime use? Which one's for nighttime use? I like the flavor of lemons. I don't like that gassy smell of flower. You can find the perfect product. And yeah, it's there's a lot of options.
There are thousands of
So many.
strains out there that you have options.
Lots of options. You don't like even people who don't like the smell of weed but want to smoke it or consume it. You have options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, this all goes to show that cannabis is not as simple as people think it is. Cannabis is a science,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think one of the products we haven't touched on here, we have some vapes that I'll pass over. But I really wanted to focus on, you're shopping in a legal dispensary. What should we be looking for here on these labels?
You gotta make sure it's labeled in the first place to know if your product is safe. So if you're not shopping it yourself, someone gives it to you, so first we gotta address that. If someone gives you a product, check if it has the California warning symbol, and check to see if there is the label sticker that shows the metric ID, because it also shows the THC content. And sometimes they will include some terpene content too, but not all the time. But I think most importantly, it shows you how much THC is in it and that it is a legitimate product and the expiration date. So you can always assess how fresh a product is by checking these compliant labels. If your product doesn't have that, I'd steer clear. And especially with vapes, there's a lot of bootleg vapes out there, especially emulating, imitating, mimicking these very popular licensed brands. So be very careful. Try to shop for vapes on your own at a licensed dispensary. But if you get one from a friend, just check for this California warning symbol, as well as this label that shows the batch metric ID, the THC potency, and the expiration date.
And I want to note that all cannabis products have both of these things, not just the vape, but you can see the flower usually has the label, the gummies, the drinks.
Just like on this concentrates, that's how you knew it was 83.7% THC.
Exactly.
And yeah, I know that I know the packaging date and the expiration date just by looking at this. So it's very useful. Compliant products are not just about being safe. It's also about knowing if it's a good product or not. You don't want to be smoking or dabbing or vaping something old.
Well, because when you get from the unlicensed market, you don't know when it was packaged.
Yep.
You don't know if it's really old product. You don't know if it's already expired. You don't know if it was sitting in someone's dusty, musty car.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, if it was sitting in a dusty, musty car, then it might be dusty, musty itself. So please be careful. And yeah, there are several bootleg products out there. Just make sure you're safe. I know we touched earlier on solvent based products, solvents being used in vapes and concentrates. Sometimes these bootleg products use solvents that we are not supposed to consume. So yeah,
And when you say solvents, talk a little bit about that.
So earlier we mentioned BHO, that's butane hash oil. So butane is used as a solvent to help process cannabis flower into a liquid form that can be put into vapes. So butane is used. There's ethanol extraction. There's all kinds of different alcohols that can be used for extraction. But there are other additives and solvents that we shouldn't be using. So back in 2019, there was the EVALI, electronic vape associated lung illness crisis that happened because they were adding cutting agents like vitamin E oil and other harmful substances that turn into formaldehyde that are not meant to be solvents. So with licensed products like this, like a licensed vape like this, you're not getting those cutting agents or additives that are not meant to be consumed. So you got a safe vape here with these labels.
Well, that's a good note to make because you think a lot of, licensed dispensaries, a lot of regulators, we talk about being safe, and this is exactly what we mean. You don't want to be consuming any of these products, you just don't. And when you shop at a legal dispensary, you know that these products are safe for consumption.
Yeah.
And also another thing to note is if there is a product recall, we are able to recall all of the products and know which products are not safe for consumption through the metric number in the label.
Yeah. Yeah, I also do want to say something about recalls. Recalls are so common in produce. So when you see a brand being recalled, that doesn't mean they're bad. If anything, they're being responsible. All parties are being responsible in this. The regulators as well as the brand that is making sure those products are recalled. So yeah, we see carrots were recalled at Trader Joe's. So,
Yes.
like this happens so frequently.
Exactly.
Organic carrots especially. So like it's
Yeah.
a very common thing with produce and
Mhm.
with organic
Just
material
organic
like this.
materials.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
it's not a means to say the brand is bad. If
Yeah.
anything, this is just to make sure we are consuming in a healthy and safe way.
I actually had a quick follow up, if you don't mind, on some of this labeling stuff. I see a whole bunch of percentages. What am I looking at here? What numbers should I be looking at? Especially again, keeping in mind the can of curious.
Of course. So we mentioned that there is a THC percentage label behind a lot of flower and concentrate products. And then when it comes to edibles, oh, and vapes also have its THC percentage. That's a very important number to check and to reference on the compliant label. But what about with products that don't have a THC percentage, like edibles? Edibles here will have a dose that is categorized by milligrams. Like this edible bag over here, this has 10 milligrams THC per gummy. So this is a very important number to identify. Even with beverages, we said that was 100 milligrams. Please avoid that if you're kind of curious. But 10 milligrams, that's a decent dose. But for Canna Curious, try to look for something that is between 2.5 milligrams to 5 milligrams THC. And when it comes to flower, potency is a good basis of understanding if a product is strong or not. This is 18.74% THC flower. And over here, this is stronger at almost 25% THC. So that's a good foundation to follow when you're shopping. Is check the numbers, ask about them, and different formats will have different values associated. So yeah, it's kind of like chemistry class in a way. But yeah, your edibles. Numbers are milligram doses. Your flower, concentrate, vapes are measured by THC potency.
Thank you so much. This has been so much great information. I know I'm learning a lot. I know our viewers and the Can of Curious are learning a lot. A lot of great terminology being thrown out there. Dog walk, mother. I'm loving all of this. So, but I want to kind of continue with down that Can of Curious path. I know you walked us through a little bit with starting low and going slow.
Yeah.
Is there any other advice you can give that maybe we haven't touched on for
Yes.
the Can of Curious or first timers?
Oh yeah. So I recently wrote a microdosing guide for Vice, so we can definitely share the link for that. But first step for the Canna Curious is understanding and choosing which format you want, because there's a big difference between inhalation, like smoking and dabbing and vaping, versus eating an edible or drinking a beverage. So these two methods of consumption have a different onset and duration. So what does that mean? When you smoke, when you inhale, it hits you immediately, and that high kind of tapers off after around 20 to 30 minutes. But with an edible, it can last much longer and it doesn't hit you immediately. Like sometimes I'll pop in an edible and be like, am I high yet? And then I'll accidentally take another one. So that's a rookie mistake. So anyone who's Canna Curious, if you're eating an edible, don't stack another one on top of that. Wait. And how long should you wait? Typically, you should wait an hour and a half to 3 hours. So, onset and duration. With inhalation, fast onset, quick duration. Edibles is slower onset and longer duration. That's the best way to keep in mind. And that's how you can also identify which format you want. You want a quick thing, or do you want an all-day experience?
Yeah. Maha, thank you so much for all of this information. I've learned so much. Ryan has learned
So much,
I
and our
hope you guys
viewers
did.
too.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Please don't forget to shop at one of our licensed locations at home. Find our map online, type in your zip code, and it'll show you the closest location near you. You can find us online. Maha, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram. I'm Hi Maha, High.
We're gonna put it. We're gonna put it.
And you can find my work, including the microdosing guide, on Vice. So if you just search vice.com and Maha,
We'll
it'll
also
pop
link
up.
that. We'll link that.
And I'm on Twitch. So I stream and I review a lot of these products. So if you have hesitations before buying something, I may have already tried it. So check my stream out too.
Thank you, Maha. Again, we are at the Originals Factory today. This is one of the locations where you can come shop. It is on Stanford Avenue near Gage in South LA. Happy 420, everyone. Remember to be safe and have fun. Should we go shop?
Oh, yes.
Let's go. Let's
Thought
go.
you'd
Let's
never
go.
ask.
I know. This is what we've been waiting for the entire time.
Let's go shop.